in the shadows of ancient empires, from Egypt's necropolises to Rome's sewers, the lowliest workers toiled in unimaginable filth, and danger embalmers preserving mummies, vomit collectors serving drunken elites, and bone pickers scavenging battlefields. Their labor propped up mighty civilizations, yet their lives were scorned, their names erased. Step into their world and uncover the gruesome, untold stories of those who carried the weight of history's darkest tasks, where every day was a battle against disease, stigma, and the specter of death. The ornatrix, enslaved hairdressers of ancient Roma. Imagine yourself awakening before dawn in the dim confines of a Roman domus, the grand household of a wealthy patrician family. The air is thick with the scent of olive oil lamps flickering weakly against the frescoed walls, and the distant clatter of carts on the cobblestone streets outside signals the start of another interminable day. You are an ornatrix, one of the countless enslaved women tasked with the meticulous art of hairdressing in ancient Rome. This role, though seemingly mundane in the grand tapestry of empire, was a cornerstone of social status and daily ritual, where the appearance of the elite reflected the power and refinement of Rome itself. Yet, for you, it is a life of quiet endurance, bound by chains not always visible, shaping the very image of civilization through endless, repetitive toil. Your day begins in the kalina, the kitchen area, where you mix the day's concoctions under the watchful eye of the household steward. The ingredients are far from glamorous rotten leeches ground into a paste for blackening hair, squid ink blended with bile from oxen to achieve that coveted dark sheen, or even pigeon droppings mixed with ashes for lightning strands to mimic the blonde tresses admired from Germanic captives. These mixtures, toxic and foul-smelling, sting your hands as you stir them in clay bowls, the fumes rising like a noxious fog that clings to your tunic. Lead-based dyes, popular for their vibrant results, are particularly insidious. You know, from whispers among the slaves that prolonged exposure can lead to trembling limbs or clouded minds, but such concerns are secondary to the demands of your demeanor, the lady of the house. She expects perfection, for her coiffure is not merely personal adornment, but a statement of wealth and lineage, influencing everything from marital alliances to political favor. As the sun creeps higher, you move to the cubiculum, the private chamber where your mistress awaits. Seated before a polished bronze mirror, she sips watered wine while you comb through her locks with ivory tools imported from distant provinces. Roman women's hairstyles were elaborate affairs, evolving with fashions dictated by empresses like Julia Domna or Livia. You might spend hours curling strands with heated irons, careful not to singe the scalp lest you invite a swift slap or worse. Whipping in the courtyard for all to see, the caldarium tongs, glowing red from the fire, require steady hands. One slip could mean burns for both you and her, but the blame would fall squarely on your shoulders. Pinning the curls into towering piles secured with bone needles or golden fillets demands precision. Each layer a testament to hours of practice on fellow slaves during rare moments of respite. The physical toll is relentless. Your back aches from bending over for extended periods, your fingers raw from handling caustic substances that chap the skin and invite infections. Meals are hasty, perhaps a scrap of bread and olives snatched between tasks while you stand attendant, ready to adjust a stray curl or pluck an errant gray hair with tweezers, a process that often draws blood and muffled cries from your mistress. Yet, this job's true hardship lies in its intimacy. You are privy to secrets murmured in confidence, from illicit affairs to household intrigues, knowledge that could endanger you if overheard by the wrong ears. Slaves like you were often captured in wars or born into servitude, stripped of family and freedom, their resilience forged in the forge of daily survival. In a society where beauty standards drove trade routes, importing exotic dyes from Egypt or wigs from Gaulior, work underpinned the economy. Yet you received nothing beyond basic sustenance, your own hair sometimes shorn to fashion wigs for the elite, a humiliating reminder of your disposability. Socially, the ornatrix occupied a precarious niche. Poets like Ovid and Martial lampooned the violence inflicted upon you for minor infractions, as depicted in satires, where mistresses lash out in fits of vanity. Corporal punishment was legal, a tool to maintain order in households swollen with dozens of slaves. The significance of this role extended beyond the personal. Elaborate hairstyles signaled marital status or mourning, influencing public perception and even legal proceedings, where a disheveled appearance might sway judgments in the forum. As the afternoon wanes and your mistress prepares for a cena, the evening banquet, you ponder the deeper layers of this craft, the rituals of adornment that bind society yet chain individuals like yourself. But what hidden perils lurked in the more arcane practices, the dyes and tools that promised beauty at a steeper cost? Picture yourself once more in the heart of a Roman domus, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the mosaic floors as you, the ornatrix, continue your relentless task, the morning's labor of mixing toxic dyes and curling your mistress's hair has left your hands trembling, the faint burn of lead paste lingering on your skin. Now, as the household buzzes with preparations for the evening cena, your role shifts to maintaining the delicate balance of beauty and status that defines your mistress's public image. In ancient Rome, a woman's appearance was a currency of power, and you, an enslaved hairdresser, were both artisan and scapegoat in this intricate social dance. Your work, though dismissed as trivial by the elite, was a linchpin in the machinery of Roman society, where every curl and pin telegraphed wealth, lineage, or political allegiance. The cena demands a new hairstyle, one even more elaborate, to impress the assembled guest senators, merchants, or perhaps a visiting provincial governor. You fetch the calamistrum, a bronze curling rod heated in the embers of a small brazier. The heat radiates, sweat beads on your forehead, and you must work swiftly to avoid cooling the rod, which would ruin the tight curls favored by the Flavian dynasty's fashion. Each lock is wound, heated, and pinned with bone or silver hairpins, some encrusted with imported pearls from the Red Sea. The weight of these ornaments pulls at your mistress's scalp, and her sharp winces remind you of your precarious position. Discomfort could be blamed on your supposed clumsiness. You weave in false hairpieces, often crafted from the shorn locks of other slaves, to create the voluminous styles that signal opulence. These wigs, sourced from captives in Gaul or Germania, were a grim reminder of Rome's conquests. And sometimes you wonder if the hair you handle once belonged to someone you knew in a past life beyond the Tiber. The materials you use are not just costly, but dangerous. Lead combs, used to smooth and dye hair, leave a faint metallic temps in the air, and prolonged exposure risks poisoning, not just for you, but for your mistress, though she remains blissfully unaware, her focus on the mirror's reflection. You recall hushed tales from the slave quarters of ornatresses who lost their sight or suffered seizures from handling such substances, their bodies discarded when they could no longer serve. The household's apothecary might supply herbal rinses rose or chamomile to enhance shine, but these are rare reprieves from the caustic arsenal of bat guano, vinegar, and arsenic-based powders. Your knowledge of these mixtures, passed down through whispered lessons from older slaves, the emotional toll is subtler, but no less grueling. As you work, your mistress confides in you. Her words, a mix of gossip and veiled threats, rumors of a rival's infidelity, or hints of her own husband's political schemes. You listen silently, knowing that repeating such secrets could lead to your execution, as slaves were often silenced permanently to protect household honor. Your role grants you access to the intimate spaces of the elite, yet it isolates you. Other slaves envy your proximity to power, while the freeborn disdain your existence. Roman law offered no protections. Your body and labor belonged to your owners, and historical records, like those of Pliny the Younger, note slaves punished for minor errors in grooming with flogging or branding. The Senna approaches, and you adjust the final touches, a diadem of gold to crown the towering hairstyle. Its weight a metaphor for the burdens you both carry, hers of status, yours of survival. As guests arrive, you retreat to the shadows, your work scrutinized by critical eyes. The pressure to maintain perfection is unrelenting. But what happens when a single misplaced pin or a sudden mishap unravels everything you've toiled to create? As twilight settles over the Roman domus, you, the ornatrix, stand in the flickering glow of oil lamps, your hands still tingling from the day's work. The Senna is in full swing, the air filled with the clink of goblets and the hum of conversation. From the triclinium where your mistress reclines, her elaborate hairstyle a silent testament to your labor. For a moment, you pause in the corridor, catching your breath, but the reprieve is fleeting. A sudden cry pierces the dinner hairpin has slipped, loosening a cascade of curls that threatens to humiliate your mistress before her guests. You're summoned immediately, the steward's glare, promising punishment if you fail to salvage the situation. This moment encapsulates the precarious existence of an ornatrix in ancient Rome. Your skill shapes the social order, yet a single error could cost you everything. You rush to the triclinium, weaving through slaves bearing platters of roasted peacock and dormice. Kneeling beside your mistress, you work swiftly, repinning the curls with trembling fingers, ignoring her hissed complaints. The guests, mercifully distracted by a poet reciting verses, barely notice, but you feel the weight of their potential judgment. In Roman society, a woman's appearance was a public affair, her perfection reflecting her husband's wealth and influence. A disheveled hairstyle could spark gossip, undermining alliances, or even inviting accusations of negligence in the household. You secure the final pin, your heart pounding, knowing that success here means only temporary safety. As you retreat, the steward mutters a warning, another mistake, and you'll face the whip. The resolution of this crisis highlights the broader impact of your role. The ornatrix, though enslaved, was integral to Rome's visual culture, where beauty was a political tool. Hairstyles, as seen in surviving busts of empresses like Faustina the Younger, dictated fashion trends across the empire, driving demand for exotic dyes and wigs that fueled trade networks from India to Britannia. Your labor, however invisible, propped up this economy, yet your life remained expendable. Historical records, such as Juvenile's satires, describe the cruelty meted out to ornatresses' beatings for minor infractions or banishment to rural estates for graver errors. Some, if skilled and lucky, might earn manumission, but freedom was rare, often requiring decades of flawless service or a master's whim. Your day ends in the cramped slave quarters, where you share a straw pallet with others, the ache in your hands a constant companion, the toxic dyes, the endless hours, the constant threat of punishment. These are the unseen costs of a society obsessed with appearances. This story of the ornatrix resonates today. The resilience you exhibit, surviving through skill and silence, mirrors the countless unnamed workers whose contributions shape history's backdrop. What legacy did your work leave, you wonder, as you drift toward sleep? Did the curls you crafted sway a senator's vote or seal a marriage alliance? Or were they, like you, fleeting in the grand sweep of empire? The Vestal Virgin, sacred guardians in the Roman Forum. Imagine yourself a young girl, no older than 10, standing in the bustling heart of Rome, the Forum Romanum, where the air hums with the chatter of merchants and the clink of coins. It is around 100 BCE, and you have just been chosen as a Vestal Virgin, one of 6 priestesses tasked with guarding the sacred fire of Vesta, goddess of the hearth. To the onlookers, your selection is an honor, a mark of divine favor that elevates your family's status in a city obsessed with prestige. Yet, as you're led through the cheering crowds to the Atrium Vesta, your new home, a knot of unease tightens in your chest. This role, cloaked in reverence, demands a life of unyielding discipline, isolation, and peril, where the flicker of a flame could determine the fate of Rome, your own survival. Your days begin before dawn, when you slip into the simple white stola and woolen mantle, symbols of your purity, and enter the temple of Vesta. The temple is modest compared to the grand basilicas nearby, but its significance is immense. The eternal fire burning within is believed to safeguard Rome's prosperity. Your primary duty is to tend this flame, never allowing it to extinguish. You carry water from the sacred spring of Egeria to mix with ashes, creating mola salsa, a ritual flower used in sacrifices. The task is repetitive, the clay vessels heavy, and the cold stone floors chill your bare feet. Each movement is governed by strict rituals, learned under the stern gaze of the Virgo Maxima, the chief Vestal. A misstep, spilling water, or stumbling over a prayer could be seen as an omen of divine displeasure. As a Vestal, you are both revered and imprisoned. You live in luxury compared to most Romans, with a spacious residence, slaves to serve you, an exemption from paternal authority, rare privilege for a woman in a patriarchal society. Yet this comes at a cost. You've sworn a vow of chastity for 30 years, a commitment that shapes every aspect of your existence. The training is grueling, memorizing ancient rites in archaic Latin, mastering the preparation of sacred cakes, and learning to interpret the fire's behavior as a divine message. Historical records, like those of Livy, describe Vestals as symbols of Rome's moral purity, but also as scapegoats. Any calamity, a lost battle, or plague could be blamed on your failure to uphold perfection. Your family, once proud, now seems distant. You're forbidden to leave the city except for specific rituals, and even then, you travel in a curtained litter, veiled from the world. The weight of expectation is crushing. Romans believe your vigilance keeps the gods appeased, and a single lapse could invite divine wrath. You hear whispers of past Vestals punished for negligence, buried alive in a sealed chamber for allowing the fire to die or breaking their vows. The thought lingers as you sprinkle ash into the flame, watching it flare briefly. What does it mean to live a life where your every action is both sacred and scrutinized, where a single mistake could doom you and your city? The years pass, and you, now a young woman, have grown accustomed to the rhythm of life as a Vestal virgin, though its demands never lighten. The Temple of Vesta is your world, its circular walls both a sanctuary and a cage. By now, around 90 BCE, you've mastered the rituals, the precise gestures for offering mola salsa during festivals like the Vestalia, the careful tending of the sacred fire, and the silent prayers that must be uttered without error. The flame is your constant companion, its steady glow a reminder of Rome's stability and your responsibility to maintain it. Yet, as you kneel before the hearth, the weight of isolation grows heavier, and the consequences of your role become clearer. In a city teeming with life, you are set apart, a figure of reverence, but also suspicion, your every move watched by priests, senators, and citizens alike. Your duties extend beyond the temple. You attend public ceremonies, such as the Ludi Romani, where you sit in a place of honor, your white veil and purple-bordered cloak marking you as untouchable. You carry the sacred vessels during processions, your presence a living symbol of Rome's pact with the gods. But these moments of visibility only deepen your solitude. You cannot marry, cannot touch most men, and even casual conversation risks misinterpretation. The Pontifex Maximus, Rome's chief priest, oversees your conduct with an iron grip, and historical accounts, like those of Plutarch, note how Vestals were scrutinized for any sign of impurity. A glance held too long or a laugh deemed too carefree could spark rumors of scandal with catastrophic consequences. The physical toll is subtle but persistent. Hours spent kneeling on stone floors leave your knees aching, and the smoke from the sacred fire stings your eyes, sometimes blurring your vision. You eat fresh bread, figs, and wine provided by the state, but meals are taken in silence, shared only with your fellow Vestals, who are as bound by duty as you are. The Atrium Vesta is luxurious, with its colonnaded courtyard and private baths, but it feels like a gilded prison. You hear tales of the outside world wars, with the Senate's political strife in the Senate, but they seem distant, filtered through the lens of your sacred isolation. Your role grants you privileges, like the right to make a will or testify in court, rare for women. But these feel hollow when your life is not your own. The greatest fear is the fire's extinction. You've learned to read its patterns, how It dances in a breeze or dims with poor kindling, but accidents happen. A gust through the temple's open roof or a moment of inattention could snuff it out. The punishment is severe, scourging, or, in rare cases, execution. Livy records instances of Vestals blamed for Rome's misfortunes, their fates decided by a jittery public eager for scapegoats. As you add wood to the flame, you wonder what unseen forces, human or divine, might conspire to test your vigilance, and how would you face the consequences of failure? Now, in your late 20s, you stand at the midpoint of your 30-year vow as a Vestal virgin, the sacred fire still burning steadily under your care. It is around 85 BCE, and Rome is fracturing. Civil wars between Marius and Sulla shake the Republic, and the Forum buzzes with tension. Your role as a guardian of Vesta's flame feels more vital than ever, as citizens look to the gods for stability. Yet, the pressure has intensified. A recent drought has sparked whispers that the Vestals have faltered, and you feel the weight of accusing eyes as you perform rituals in the Forum. The climax of your story comes not in a single dramatic moment, but in the slow, grinding realization that your life, though sacred, is a delicate thread in Rome's unraveling tapestry. One night, a spark from the fire lands on your sleeve, a near disaster that leaves you trembling. What if the flame had gone out? You act swiftly, smothering the spark and tending the hearth with renewed focus. The incident passes unnoticed, but it underscores the fragility of your position. The sacred fire's continuity is Rome's heartbeat, and its loss would be catastrophic, both spiritually and personally. Historical records, like those of Dionysius of Halicarnassus, recount Vestals executed for letting the fire die buried alive in the Campus Celeratus. A chilling reminder of your vulnerability. Your survival depends on vigilance, but also on navigating the human politics that surround you. A rival priestess, envious of your favor with the Virgo Maxima, might whisper of your carelessness, and the Pontifex Maximus would investigate with little mercy. You've learned to move cautiously, your words measured, your actions precise, a resilience forged in the crucible of constant scrutiny. As your term nears its end, you face a choice: remain a Vestal for life, or re-enter a world you barely remember. Most Vestals, freed after 30 years, struggle to adapt. Suetonius notes that some married only to find their sacred status made them unfit for ordinary life. Your work has shaped Rome's religious fabric. Your rituals ensured harvests, victories, and divine favor, but it came at the cost of your youth, your freedom, and perhaps your health. The smoke-damaged eyes and aching joints are permanent souvenirs, as is the knowledge that your labor, though revered, was expendable to a city that demanded perfection. Reflecting on this, you see parallels in modern times, roles that demand sacrifice for the greater good, where individuals are exalted yet constrained, their personal costs hidden behind public duties. The Vestal's life, mundane in its daily grind, was monumental in its impact, anchoring Rome's spiritual identity. As you stoke the fire one last time, you wonder, did your unwavering dedication truly shield Rome from collapse, or were you merely a symbol in a city destined to burn under its own ambitions? The Praegastator, food tasters for Roman emperors. Picture yourself in the grand palace of Nero around 60 CE, standing in the shadow of marble columns, as the aroma of roasted pheasant and spiced wine wafts from the triclinium. You are a pregustator, a food taster for the Roman emperor, a role that places you at the precarious intersection of luxury and danger. To the elite, reclining on their couches, your job seems trivially quick bite or sip before the emperor partakes, but for you, every morsel carries the weight of potential death. In a world where political intrigue festers like an open wound, poison is a favored weapon, and you are the empire's first line of defense. Your life, a silent wager against the ambitions of unseen enemies. Your day begins in the Kalina, the imperial kitchen, where slaves toil over steaming cauldrons and sizzling spits. You watch as cooks prepare dishes with ingredients from across the empire, garam from Hispania, dates from Judea, and rare pepper from India. Your task is to sample each dish before it reaches Nero's table, ensuring no poison taints the meal. The process is methodical but nerve-wracking. You take a small bite of dormouse stuffed with herbs, a sip of mulsum sweetened with honey, and a taste of lentils stewed in coriander, pausing each time to gauge your body's reaction. A bitter aftertaste or a sudden flush of heat could signal danger. But hesitation is not an option. Delay risks the emperor's impatience, and failure to detect poison could mean your execution for negligence. As a pregustator, you are likely a trusted slave or freedman, chosen for loyalty or expendability. Historical accounts, like those of Suetonius, describe Nero's paranoia, his fear of assassination driving the need for tasters. Your training, if it can be called that, comes from experience and whispered advice from predecessors. Watch for the faint almond-like scent of cyanide, the metallic temps of arsenic, or the subtle grit of ground glass. But no amount of knowledge guarantees safety. Poisons like hemlock or aconite, favored by Rome's schemers, can act slowly, leaving you to collapse hours later. Your death, a mere footnote in the emperor's day. You carry antidotes, charcoal or milk thistle into your tunic, but their efficacy is dubious. A faint hope against the ingenuity of poisoners. The physical toll is matched by the mental strain. You dine in opulence, sampling dishes most Romans could only dream of, yet each bite is a gamble. Your stomach churns, not just from fear, but from the constant influx of rich foods, often taken without time to digest. You're forbidden to eat outside your duties, lest you dilute your sensitivity to toxins. Socially, you're an outcast. Slaves envy your access to the emperor, while courtiers disdain your low status. You overhear snippets of plots and betrayals, but speaking out risks accusing the wrong noble. A mistake that could see you tossed into the Tiber as you swallow a piece of peacock. Your eyes scan the room for signs of treachery, wondering what hidden schemes might lurk behind the next dish, and will your body be the first to betray their presence? The banquet hall grows louder as the evening deepens, the clatter of silver and laughter of Nero's courtiers filling the air. You, the pregustator, stand near the emperor's couch, your senses sharpened by years of tasting for poison. It's 62 CE, and Rome is a cauldron of intrigue, with Nero's rule increasingly unstable after the murder of his mother, Agrippina. Your role has grown more perilous as whispers of rebellion swirl among senators and even within the imperial household. Every dish you sample, whether a delicate oyster in garum sauce or a fig glazed with honey, carries not just the risk of poison, but the weight of political machinations. You are no mere servant. You are a living shield, your survival tied to the emperor's trust and the cunning of his enemies. Your routine is relentless. Each course requires a sample, a bite of roasted boar, a sip of Falernian wine, a nibble of asparagus drizzled with olive oil. You chew slowly, letting the flavors linger, searching for any hint of bitterness or unnatural warmth that might betray a toxin. The emperor watches you closely, his eyes glinting with suspicion, not just of the food, but of everyone around him. Tacitus records Nero's obsession with security, noting how pregustators were common in imperial courts, their deaths often unremarked unless they exposed a plot. You've seen colleagues falsum clutching their throats after a tainted dish, others dismissed and executed for failing to detect a threat. Each loss tightens the knot of fear in your gut, yet you must appear calm, your face a mask of neutrality. To avoid alarming the guests, the physical strain is undeniable. Your body, once robust, now suffers from the constant barrage of rich foods and the low-grade stress of potential poisoning. Your stomach protests, and headaches plague you, possibly from the trace toxins you've ingested over time. Historical texts mention antidotes like mithridatum, a concoction of herbs and opium, but you know its protection is limited. The kitchen slaves, under pressure to produce flawless meals, sometimes resent you, suspecting you might falsely accuse them of poisoning to curry favor. Meanwhile, courtiers whisper behind your back, their smiles hiding contempt for your servile role. You're privy to secrets, overheard conversations about betrayals or alliances, but speaking out could mark you as a threat, inviting a dagger. In the dark, your life is a paradox. You dine on the empire's finest delicacies, yet live in constant dread. The banquet hall, with its gilded frescoes and imported silks, is a stage where you perform your silent, deadly role. You notice a new face among the guests, a senator with a nervous glance, his hand lingering near a wine jug. Is it paranoia? Or does he know something you don't? As you taste the next dish, a subtle metallic temps lingers on your tongue, and your pulse quickens. Is this the moment when the poisoner's art outwits your vigilance? Or is it merely the bite of an unfamiliar spice? It's 64 CE, and the great fire of Rome has left the city smoldering, with Nero's reputation as precarious as ever. You, the pregustator, have survived years of tasting for poison, but the air in the palace is thick with distrust. The fire, blamed by some on Nero himself, has fueled conspiracies, and your role as food taster feels like standing on the edge of a blade. Tonight's banquet is a lavish attempt to restore favor, with guests from the Senate and beyond reclining under flickering torchlight. As you sample a dish of mushrooms steeped in garum, a faint bitterness lingers, and your heart lurches. This is the moment you've dreaded, the climax of your silent battle against unseen enemies. You pause, swallowing hard, and signal to the steward that the dish must be replaced. The emperor's eyes narrow, but you've learned to trust your instincts. A similar incident last year revealed aconite in a sauce, saving Nero's life and earning you a rare nod of approval. The dish is whisked away, and later, a slave confesses to tampering under a senator's orders, a plot foiled. but at the cost of your nerves. Suetonius notes such incidents where pregustators uncovered treachery, though often at great personal risk. Your survival hinges on this vigilance, but each near miss erodes your health. Chronic stomach pains and trembling hands hint at the cumulative toll of trace poisons, and the antidotes you carry offer little comfort against the slow grind of your duties. The resolution of your role is not a single triumph, but a life of endured peril. You've thwarted multiple attempts on Nero's life, each one cementing your value, yet deepening your isolation. The court sees you as a tool, not a person. Your name, if it survives at all, is absent from records like those of Tacitus, who mention pregustators only in passing. Your body bears the scars of your trade-dealing digestion. Weakened limbs, yet you persist, driven by the faint hope of freedom or a quiet death. Some pregustators, if exceptionally trusted, were manumitted, but most faded into obscurity, their lives spent in service to a paranoid regime. Reflecting on your role, you see its echoes in modern times. Those who risk their lives in obscurity to protect others, from food inspectors to security personnel, their sacrifices unnoticed until disaster strikes. Your work, though mundane in its repetition, was a bulwark against chaos in a Rome riddled with betrayal. As you taste one final disha pear, dusted with cinnamon, you wonder, did your quiet sacrifices truly shield the emperor, or were you merely a pawn in a game where poison and power were indistinguishable? The galley rower oarsman in ancient Mediterranean fleets. Imagine yourself shackled to a wooden bench in the dim, stifling hold of a Roman trireme, the year 100 BCE, as the Mediterranean sun beats down on the deck above. You are a galley rower, one of dozens crammed shoulder to shoulder in the belly of this warship. Your wrists bound by iron chains that clank with every stroke of the oar. The air is thick with the stench of sweat, salt, and unwashed bodies, and the rhythmic thud of the hortator's drum dictates the pace of your labor. To the Roman commanders above, you are invisible, a mere cog in the empire's naval machine, propelling their conquests across the seas. But for you, each pull of the oar is a test of endurance, a grueling fight for survival in a world that values your strength but not your life. Your day begins before dawn, when the ship's overseer rouses you with a lash of the whip, its sting, a sharp reminder of your status. Most rowers are slaves, prisoners of war, or condemned criminals, drawn from Rome's conquests in places like Carthage or Gaul. You might have been a farmer once, or a soldier, but now your identity is reduced to the number etched on your bench. The oar, heavy and splintered, is your constant companion, its weight straining your shoulders as you row in unison with others. The trireme, with its 3 tiers of oars, demands perfect coordination. A missed stroke disrupts the rhythm, earning you a blow from the overseer's rod. The ship's hull creaks with every wave, and water seeps through cracks, soaking your ragged tunic. The physical toll is brutal. Your hands blister and bleed, the calluses splitting under the oar's rough grain. The diet stale bread, thin porridge, and occasional scraps of salted fish barely sustains you, leaving your stomach gnawing with hunger. Dehydration is a constant threat. Fresh water is rationed, and the brackish swill offered during long voyages burns your throat. Historical accounts, like those of Polybius, describe the grueling conditions of galley rowers, whose lives were often short, their bodies worn out by exhaustion or disease. Sickness spreads quickly in the cramped hold where you sleep slumped over your oar, the chains preventing any real rest. Socially, you are less than nothing. The freeborn sailors and marines above mock you, their voices carrying through the deck as they call you human cattle. Yet, your labor is vital. Naval dominance, from the Punic Wars to campaigns against pirates, depends on the strength of rowers like you. A single trireme requires up to 170 oarsmen, each stroke powering the empire's ambitions. You've heard tales of battles where rowers were promised freedom for victory, only to be forgotten or slaughtered if the ship sank. As you pull the oar, the drum's relentless beat echoing in your chest, you wonder, what fate awaits you in the next battle? And can your body withstand the relentless grind of the sea? The trireme cuts through the Mediterranean's choppy waves, and you, the galley rower, feel the strain in every muscle as the hortator's drum quickens its tempo. It's 98 BCE, and your ship is part of a Roman fleet patrolling against Cilician pirates, a mission that tests your endurance to its limits. The hold is a sweltering prison, the air heavy with the reek of pitch and human misery. Your bench, slick with sweat and seawater, offers no comfort, and the chains binding your wrists chafe raw sores into your skin. Each stroke of the oar pulls at your shoulders, the pain a constant companion, yet you row on, driven by the overseer's whip and the faint hope of surviving another day. The rhythm of rowing is hypnotic but punishing. The hortator's drum sets a pace that varies, slow for cruising, rapid for battle maneuvers, like the ramming charge. During these bursts, your lungs burn and your heart pounds as you strain to keep time. A single misstep can tangle the oars, slowing the ship and inviting punishment. The overseer, a grizzled freedman, wields his whip with precision, targeting those who falter. Historical records, like those of Appian, note the high mortality of galley rowers, who often succumbed to exhaustion or were left to drown if the ship was damaged in combat. You've seen men collapse at their benches, their bodies dragged above deck and tossed overboard without ceremony. Beyond the physical, the mental toll is crushing. You're cut off from the world above, hearing only fragments of the crew's shouts or the clash of weapons during skirmishes. The darkness of the hold amplifies your isolation. You know little of the ship's course or the outcome of battles, only the endless pull of the oar. Companions on nearby benches offer some camaraderie, whispering tales of their lost homes in Thrace or Syria. But these moments are fleeting. Mutiny is a distant dream. Chains and constant surveillance make rebellion impossible, and the penalty is crucifixion. As Livy records in accounts of failed slave revolts, your role, though despised, is critical. The triremes' speed and maneuverability depend on your strength, enabling Rome to crush pirate fleets and secure trade routes. Yet, your life is expendable. In battle, rowers are trapped below deck, vulnerable to sinking or fire if the ship is rammed. You've heard of rare cases where rowers were freed after heroic victories, but such promises feel hollow, often broken by commanders who see you as replaceable. As the drum beats faster, signaling a chase against a pirate vessel, your arms tremble with fatigue. The overseer's shout cuts through the din, urging speed. And you wonder, will this battle be your salvation or your doom? And what price will your body pay for Rome's glory? It's 96 BCE, and the trireme you row has weathered countless voyages, its timbers scarred from battles and storms. You, the galley rower, are a shadow of your former self, your body gaunt from years of malnutrition and relentless labor. The fleet is returning to Ostia after a successful campaign against pirates. But victory brings you no joy, only the prospect of another grueling journey. The climactic moment of your story comes not in a glorious battle, but in a quiet, desperate act of survival. During a rare pause in rowing, as the ship docks for repairs, you overhear the overseer mention a chance for manumission for rowers who've served faithfully. The possibility ignites a flicker of hope, but it's tempered by the reality of your broken body and the Empire's indifference. You seize the moment, working with feverish intensity during the next voyage, your oar strokes precise despite the pain radiating from your shoulders. The overseer notices, sparing you the whip, but the physical cost is immense. Your hands, now permanently scarred, bleed with each pull, and a persistent cough, likely from the damp, fetid hold racks your chest. Historical accounts, like those of Diodorus Siculus, describe rowers as living dead, their lives spent in service to Rome's naval might. Some, if lucky, were freed, but most died at their benches or were discarded when too weak to row. You cling to the slim chance of freedom, knowing it might come too late. The resolution is bittersweet. After months of grueling effort, the commander grants manumission to a handful of rowers, including you, as a gesture to boost morale. You step onto the dock at Ostia, a freedman at last. But freedom is a hollow victory. Your health is ruined, chronic pain and lung ailments ensure you'll never work as a free laborer. You settle in a slum near the port, surviving on odd jobs. Your past as a rower, a story no one cares to hear. Your labor powered Rome's dominance, securing trade and conquest. Yet your name fades, unrecorded in texts like those of Pliny, which praise fleets but ignore their human engines. Reflecting on your ordeal, you see parallels in modern times, workers in grueling, unseen roles, factory laborers, migrant workers whose sacrifices fuel progress but go unrecognized. Your resilience, forged in the dark hold of a trireme, mirrors theirs, a testament to human endurance in the face of exploitation. As you watch ships sail from Ostia, you wonder, did your countless strokes change the course of Rome's empire, or were you merely a fleeting ripple in its vast, unyielding tide? The armpit plucker, groomers in Roman bathhouses, step into the steamy, echoing chambers of a Roman bathhouse in 150 CE. Where the air is thick with the scent of olive oil and the chatter of bathers. You are an alipelus, an armpit plucker, one of the many slaves tasked with grooming the bodies of Rome's elite in these sprawling public complexes. The bathhouse, with its marble mosaics and heated pools, is a hub of social life, where senators, merchants, and converse. But for you, it's a place of grueling labor, your hands wielding tweezers to pluck unwanted hair from the underarms of patrons. A task both intimate and degrading, essential to Roman ideals of cleanliness, yet scorned by those you serve. Your day begins in the tepidarium, the warm room, where you stand ready with a bronze strigil and a pair of iron tweezers. your tools cleaned, but never quite free of the faint metallic temps of use. Patrons recline on benches, their skins softened by the steam, awaiting your services. You approach a wealthy matron, her body glistening with oil, and begin the meticulous work of plucking each hair from her armpit. The process is painfully. Tug elicits a wince or a sharp cursand. You must work quickly, your fingers nimble to avoid complaints. The bathhouse is loud, filled with the splash of water and the hum of gossip. Pull could earn you a slap, or worse. The role of an Alapalis is rooted in Rome's obsession with hygiene and aesthetics. Historical sources, like those of Martial, describe the bathhouse as a place where cleanliness was a status symbol, with smooth, hairless skin signaling refinement. Require force, leaving your hands cramped and your wrists aching. The heat of the bathhouse saps your strength, and the constant bending over patrons strains your back. Through long shifts, the warm, damp environment breeds infections, and you've seen fellow slaves succumb to skin ailments contracted from close contact. Socially, you're at the bottom of Rome's hierarchy. Casual insults, a reminder of your enslavement. Many Ellipolae were captives from provinces like Dacia or Judea, stripped of their pasts and reduced to their function. Yet, your work is vital to the bathhouse's allure, supporting a culture where grooming was a public ritual. You overhear snippets of political schemes or scandalous affairs. Estate. As you pluck another hair, the matron's grimace mirroring your own exhaustion. You wonder what hidden dangers lurk in this world of steam and secrets, and how long can you endure its demands. The bathhouse grows busier as the afternoon sun climbs, its halls filled with the laughter and complaints of Rome's citizens. In 150 CEU, the Alapelis move from one patron to another, your tweezers flashing in the dim light of the caldarium, the hottest room where steam clouds the air and sweat drips from your brow. Your role as an armpit plucker is relentless. Each client demands speed and precision, their impatience a constant pressure. A senator, his toga discarded, beckons you next. You kneel beside him, plucking coarse hairs with practiced flicks, ignoring the sting of his muttered insults about your barbarian origins. Every tug is a small battle, balancing pain against efficiency, your hands trembling from hours of repetitive strain. The physical toll is merciless. Your fingers, calloused and raw, ache from gripping the tweezers, and the constant heat leaves you dizzy, your tunic soaked through. The bathhouse's hypocaust system, heating the floors, makes every step feel like walking on embers. You've learned to navigate the crowded rooms, dodging slaves carrying water or masseurs needing oiled limbs, but accidents happen. Spilled amphora of oil once left you slipping, earning a lash from the bathhouse overseer. Historical texts, like those of Seneca, describe the bathhouse as a chaotic symphony of groans and shouts, with Alapalis mocked for their lowly task. Yet your work upholds Rome's ideal of the polished body, a cultural cornerstone that draws crowds daily. The mental strain is subtler, but no less punishing. You're invisible to most patrons, yet your proximity to their bodies makes you a target for their frustrations. A merchant, displeased with a painful pluck, might report you, and the overseer's punishments are swift-deduced rations or a night locked in the bathhouse's storage room. You're privy to secret whispers of a senator's bribe or a matron's infidelity, but silence is your only defense. Slaves who gossip, as juvenile satires note, risk flogging or worse. Your fellow Ellipolae from distant provinces share stories of lost families. But these moments of connection are rare, interrupted by the overseer's calls to work faster. Your role supports a vast economy. The bathhouse, a hub of commerce, relies on slaves like you to maintain its appeal, driving demand for oils from Egypt or tools from Gaul. Yet, you reap none of the benefits, your labor sustaining a system that binds you. As you finish with the senator, a new patrician demands your attention, his armpit thick with hair. You notice a strange rash on his skin, a potential sign of contagion in the humid bathhouse. Do you risk reporting it, inviting scrutiny, or continue silently, hoping to avoid the consequences of disease or displeasure? Evening falls over the bathhouse, and the crowds thin, leaving only the echo of water dripping in the frigidarium. It's 150 CE, and you, the are nearing the end of another exhausting day. Your hands, cramped from hours of plucking armpit hair, tremble as you clean your tweezers, the bronze stained with oil and grime. The climactic moment of your story comes unexpectedly. A prominent equestrian, a regular patron, collapses after your session, clutching his armpit and gasping. Whispers spread of a possible infection, and the overseer's eyes turn to you, accusing you of spreading disease through careless work. Panic grips youth, could mean flogging, banishment, or worse, as Roman law, per Ulpian's writings, holds slaves accountable for their master's misfortunes. You act quickly, insisting the rash you noticed earlier was pre-existing, pointing to the bathhouse's unsanitary conditions as the cause. The overseer, under pressure from angry patrons, investigates, and a physician confirms the equestrian's ailment stemmed from a communal sponge, not your tweezers. You escape punishment, but the incident leaves you shaken, a stark reminder of your vulnerability. Historical records, like those of Pliny the Elder, note the bathhouse as a breeding ground for disease, with slaves like you often blamed for outbreaks. Your survival hinges on vigilance, maintaining your tools' cleanliness despite the chaos, and navigating the bathhouse's social minefield with silence and skill. The resolution of your role is one of endurance, not triumph. You continue plucking, your body worn by years of labor-aching joints, blurred vision from steam, and a persistent cough from the damp air. Some Ellipolae, if favored, might earn manumission, but most, as Marshall's epigrams suggest, toil until they're discarded, too weak to serve. You dream of freedom, but the reality is grim. Freed slaves often beg in Rome's streets, their skills useless outside the bathhouse. Your work, though scorned, shaped Rome's culture, reinforcing ideals of hygiene that defined social status and fueled economic networks. From olive oil imports to tool craftsmanship, reflecting on your life, you see parallels in modern times. Low-wage workers in service industries, their labor essential yet undervalued, their health risked in hazardous conditions. Your resilience, honed in the steamy chaos of the bathhouse, mirrors theirs, a testament to human perseverance in the face of indignity. As you wipe down your tweezers, preparing for another day, you wonder, did your countless plucks truly polish Rome's image? Or were you just a fleeting hand in the endless cycle of its vanity? The minor laborers in the depths of Roman mines, Imagine yourself descending into the dark, suffocating depths of a Roman mine in 50 CE, somewhere in the rocky hills of Hispania. You are a miner, likely a slave or condemned criminal, tasked with extracting the metals gold, silver, lead that fuel Rome's economy and war machine. The air grows heavy as you crawl through a narrow, hand-hewn tunnel, the flickering light of your oil lamp casting eerie shadows on jagged walls, the distant clink of picks and the groans of fellow laborers echo, a grim reminder of the collective misery that defines this subterranean world. To the empire above, your toil is invisible, yet it underpins Rome's grandeur. From the coins in the forum to the lead pipes of its aqueducts, your day begins at dawn. To prevent escape, you carry a bronze pick and a basket for hauling ore, both heavy enough to make your shoulders ache before the work even starts. The tunnels, barely wide enough for your frame, force you to crouch or crawl the rough stone, scraping your knees and elbows raw. The air is thick with dust, choking your lungs and stinging your eyes, while the heat from deep underground makes sweat drip into your wounds. You hack at the rock, searching for veins of ore, each strike jarring your bones. Historical accounts, like those of Pliny the Elder, describe mines as death traps, where workers faced cave-ins, flooding, or poisonous gases with little hope of survival. The physical toll is relentless. Your hands blister and bleed, the pick's handle wearing grooves into your palms. The diet coarse barley porridge and occasional scraps of salted meat barely sustains you, leaving you weak and dizzy. Water, carried in leather skins, is warm and gritty, offering little relief. Many miners, as Diodorus Siculus notes, were prisoners of war from places like Carthage or Gaul, their lives deemed expendable. Disease festers in the damp, cramped conditions. A cough or fever can spread quickly, and the sick are often left to die in the tunnels, their bodies removed only to clear space. Socially, you're less than nothing. Overseers, often freedmen, treat you with contempt, their whips ensuring compliance. You share fleeting moments with other miners, whispering in broken Latin or native tongues. But trust is scarce and might betray you for an extra ration. Your labor powers Rome's wealth, producing silver for denarii or lead for plumbing, yet you receive nothing but pain. As you chip away at a vein of galena, the dust clouding your vision, you wonder what unseen dangers lurk deeper in the mine, and how long can your body endure this brutal underworld. The mine's oppressive darkness presses in as you, the miner, toil deeper underground in 50 CE. The rhythmic clink of your picogrim metronome. The tunnels of this Hispania mine twist like a labyrinth, their walls glistening with moisture that seeps from unseen fissures. You're tasked with extracting lead and silver, vital for Rome's coinage and infrastructure. But each swing of your pick feels like a defiance of death itself. The air grows thinner, heavy with the acrid sting of sulfur and dust that coats your throat, making every breath a struggle. The oil lamp at your side sputters, its weak flame your only guide, and you know that one wrong move could snuff it out or ignite a pocket of deadly gas. Your work is unrelenting. You hack at the rock, filling baskets with ore that other slaves haul to the surface, their chains rattling in the gloom. The overseers, stationed at tunnel junctions, shout orders, their whips cracking to keep the pace. A single pause to wipe sweat from your brow risks a lash, and you've seen men collapse under the strain, their bodies left until the shift ends. Pliny the Elder's accounts detail the horrors of Roman mines, where workers were consumed by exhaustion or crushed in sudden collapses. The tunnels are unstable, propped up by rotting wooden beams, and the ground trembles occasionally, a reminder of the Earth's indifference to your survival. The physical toll compounds daily. Your back aches from hours of crouching, your lungs burn from inhaling dust, and your eyes strain in the dim light, leaving your vision blurred. Malnutrition gnaws at you. The meager ration stale bread and watery gruel can't replenish the energy you burn. Lead poisoning, though unknown to you by name, creeps in. Its symptoms, tremors, headaches, blamed on fatigue. Diodorus Siculus describes miners as living corpses, their bodies broken by labor and toxins. You've seen comrades succumb, their skin gray, their strength sapped, discarded when they could no longer swing a pick. Isolation defines your existence. The miners around you, hailing from distant provinces, share a grim camaraderie, but fear stifles trust. Some might inform on you for a chance at better treatment. You're cut off from the world above, unaware of Rome's triumphs or troubles, your life reduced to the tunnel's confines. Yet your work fuels the empire's ambitions, from the silver denarii that pay legions to the lead that channels water. To Rome's baths, as you strike a promising vein, a faint rumble echoes through the tunnel, dust falling from the ceiling. Is it a warning of collapse, or just the mind's restless groan? And what will it take to survive another day in this buried hell? It's 50 CE, and you, the miner, have endured years in the suffocating depths of the Hispania mine, your body a map of scars and ailments from relentless toil. The air is thicker now, the tunnels deeper, as Rome's demand for silver and lead grows with its expanding empire. The climactic moment of your story comes during a grueling shift, when a low rumble signals a cave-in. Rocks tumble, trapping you and a handful of others in a narrow chamber, the air choked with dust. Panic surges, but you claw at the debris, your blistered hands finding a small gap. With desperate effort, you and a fellow miner widen it, freeing yourselves just as the overseers begin to abandon hope. Your survival is a fleeting triumph, but it earns you a rare nod from the foreman, a glimmer of recognition in a life of anonymity. The incident underscores your precarious existence. Cave-ins, as Strabo notes, were common in Roman mines, claiming countless lives with little record. You return to work, your cough worsening, likely from lead dust or silica in your lungs. Your body is failing, tremors shake your hands, and your vision dims, symptoms of the silent poison that Pliny the Elder unknowingly described. Yet you persist, driven by the faint hope of manumission, though most miners, per Diodorus Siculus, die in the dark. The overseers promise freedom for exceptional labor, but you've seen such pledges broken, the empire's greed outweighing its mercy. The resolution is grim. After years of toil, you're granted manumission, your survival a testament to resilience. But freedom is a cruel jest. Too weak to work as a free laborer, you beg in a nearby town, your body ravaged by disease and exhaustion. Your labor built Rome's wealth, from the silver that funded conquests to the lead that piped water to its cities. Yet your name is absent from history, unlike the emperors praised in Tacitus' annals. Your role, though critical, was invisible. Your suffering a footnote in Rome's glory. Reflecting on your life, you see echoes in modern times. Workers in hazardous industries, miners, factory laborers whose sacrifices drive progress but go unnoticed. Your endurance, forged in the mine's depths, mirrors theirs, a silent testament to human grit. As you sit by a dusty road, watching carts carry or to roam, you wonder, did your countless strikes against the rock truly shape an empire? Or were you merely a speck of dust in its unyielding machine? The fuller cloth cleaners using urine in ancient Rome. Picture yourself in the bustling streets of Rome in 100 CE, standing ankle-deep in a stone vat filled with a pungent mixture of water and stale urine. The air is thick with the acrid stench of ammonia, stinging your eyes and throat as you tread on sodden cloth, your bare feet. To the patricians who wear the fruits of your labor, your work is essential yet invisible, a dirty necessity that underpins Rome's obsession with cleanliness and status. For you, it's a life of grueling toil, steeped in filth and scorn. Your day starts at dawn in the Phalanca, a cramped workshop near the city's edge, where vats line the walls and the hum of labor never ceases. You collect urine from public latrines or clay pots placed on street corners, a practice so common that Emperor Vespasian taxed it, as Suetonius notes. The urine, rich in ammonia, is your primary cleaning agent, breaking down grease and stains in the wool. You pour it into the vat, mixing it with water and sometimes fuller's earth, then step in to knead the cloth with your feet, the liquid sloshing over your legs. The work is repetitive, your muscles aching from hours of stomping the cold stone floor, offering no relief. The physical toll is relentless. Your skin, constantly soaked, chafes and cracks, inviting infections that fester in the damp environment. The ammonia fumes burn your lungs, leaving you coughing and dizzy, and prolonged exposure, as Pliny the Elder hints, can weaken your health over time. Your diet, stale bread, lentils, and occasional cheese, barely sustains you, and fresh water is scarce, often replaced by the same gritty liquid you work in. Most fullers are slaves or low-born freedmen, drawn from Rome's underclass or conquered provinces. Their lives expendable in the eyes of the elite. Socially, you're an outcast. Passersby wrinkle their noses at the Phalanca's stench, and even other slaves mock your piss-soaked trade. Yet, your work is vital. Clean toga's signal status, and Rome's textile industry relies on fullers to prepare wool for dyeing and sale. You overhear gossip from clients delivering soiled garments, tales of political schemes or scandals, but speaking out risks a beating, as Martial's satires describe. As you tread another load of cloth, the urine splashing onto your tunic, you wonder, what deeper costs does this filthy trade exact, and how long can you endure its stench and stigma? Its stone walls trapping the heat and the sharp odor of urine. It's 100 CE, and you, the fuller, are knee-deep in a vat, your feet rhythmically pressing a senator's toga, the wool heavy with dirt and sweat. The task is unending. Garments arrive in heaps, each needing to be soaked, trodden, scrubbed, and rinsed before being stretched on wooden frames to dry. The ammonia in the urine cuts through grime, but it also seeps into your skin, leaving it raw and stinging. To the city's elite, your labor ensures their pristine appearance. To you, it's a daily battle against exhaustion and the relentless scorn of a society that depends on your work, yet despises you for it. Your routine is grueling. After treading, you scrub the cloth on a stone board with fuller's earth, your arms burning from the effort. The final rinse requires hauling heavy, wet wool to a freshwater basin, a scarce resource in the Cloaca, often reused until it's murky. The overseer, a freedman with a sharp tongue, watches closely, quick to lash out if you miss a stain or slow the pace. Historical accounts, like those of Apulus, paint fullers as figures of ridicule, their trade mocked in literature despite its economic importance. The Cloaca is a hub of activity, producing textiles for Rome's markets, yet you're paid in scraps and insults, your labor fueling a system that keeps you chained. The physical strain compounds with every hour. Your legs ache from standing in the vat. Your hands are cracked from handling coarse wool, and the ammonia fumes leave your eyes watering and your chest tight. Infections are common. Your feet, constantly wet, develop sores that rarely heal. The diet of barley gruel and occasional olives does little to restore your strength, and dehydration gnaws at you in the humid workshop. You've seen fellow fullers collapse, their bodies worn out by the toxic environment, as Pliny the Elder suggests in his notes on ammonia's effects. The work is relentless, with no rest except brief pauses to gulp tepid water. Socially, you're isolated. Your fellow foolers, often from distant provinces like Syria or Egypt, share a grim camaraderie, but trust is thinsome, might report you to the overseer for a favor. You're privy to Rome's underbelly, handling garments stained with wine, blood, or worse, each telling a story of debauchery or violence. Yet, silence is your shield. Gossiping slaves, as Juvenal warns, face brutal punishment. As you stretch a toga on a drying frame, a client complains of a faint stain, threatening to report you. Is this a test of your skill or a trap set by a rival worker? And what will it cost to navigate this moment of scrutiny? Evening descends on the Cloaca, and the din of Rome's streets fades. But your work as a fuller continues into the twilight of 100 CE, the vats, still reeking of urine, bubble softly as you tread one last load of tunics, your legs trembling from exhaustion. The climactic moment of your story arrives when a prominent client, a wealthy merchant, storms into the workshop, claiming a prized toga you cleaned was returned with a tear. The overseer, fearing the loss of a lucrative patron, accuses you of carelessness, his whip raised. Panic surges. You know the toga was intact when it left your hands, likely damaged by the client's own negligence or a rival's sabotage. Your livelihood, perhaps your life, hangs in the balance. You plead your case, pointing to your meticulous process, and suggest inspecting the Tier 4 signs of tampering. The overseer, under pressure, agrees, and a closer look reveals frayed edges consistent with wear, not your work. The merchant, embarrassed, withdraws his complaint. But the incident leaves you shaken, a stark reminder of your vulnerability. Historical texts, like those of Martial, note the precarious lives of fullers, often blamed for flaws in Rome's exacting textile trade. Your survival depends on skill and silence, navigating a world where a single accusation could mean flogging or banishment to a rural estate. The resolution is one of endurance, not victory. You continue your labor, your body scarred by years of exposure to ammonia and damp cracked skin, weakened lungs, and aching joints, your permanent companions. Manumission is a distant dream. As Apulus suggests, most foolers toil until they're too broken to continue, discarded by a city that thrives on their work. Your efforts keep Rome's elite immaculate, supporting a textile industry that drives trade from Britain to Egypt. Yet you remain nameless, unlike the senators praised in Tacitus' records. Freedom, if it comes, offers little freed. Fullers often beg, their skills useless outside the Phalanca. Reflecting on your life, you see parallels in modern times. Workers in garment factories or cleaning industries, their health risked for meager wages, their contributions vital yet overlooked. Your resilience, forged in the stench of the Phalanca, mirrors theirs, a testament to human tenacity in the face of indignity. As you rinse a final tunic, the ammonia burning your hands, you wonder, did your endless treading truly clothe Rome's glory, or were you merely a shadow in the fabric of its empire? The embalmer mummy makers in ancient Egypt, imagine yourself in the necropolis of Thebes, Egypt, around 1000 BCE, standing in a dimly lit workshop carved into the desert rock. You are an embalmer, tasked with preparing the dead for their journey to the afterlife, a sacred yet gruesome duty in a civilization obsessed with immortality. The air is heavy with the scent of natron, myrrh, and decaying flesh, and the faint hum of priests chanting in a nearby temple underscores the solemnity of your work. To the elite whose bodies you preserve, your craft ensures their eternal existence. But for you, it's a life of toil, steeped in death and ostracized by the living. Your hands forever stained by the rituals of the departed. Your day begins at dawn as you receive a body, perhaps a noble or priest trapped in linen and delivered by mourners. You work in a wabbit, a purification tent, where you and your fellow embalmers labor in near silence, respecting the sacred nature of the task. The process, described in Herodotus' histories, is meticulous. You remove the brain through the nostrils with a hooked bronze tool, a delicate operation that risks damaging the skull if mishandled. Next, you slice the abdomen to extract organs, preserving the heart for judgment in the afterlife. The body is then packed with natron, a drying salt, and left for 70 days. Your hands, raw from handling coarse salt and sharp tools, ache constantly, and the stench clings to your skin no matter how often you wash. The physical toll is relentless. The natron dries your skin, leaving it cracked and prone to infections, while the constant bending over corpses strains your back. The diet bread, lentils, and occasional fish from the Nile barely sustains you, and fresh water is scarce in the desert heat. Embalmers, often low-status workers, despite their skill, were shunned, as Diodorus Siculus notes, their contact with death rendering them impure in Egyptian society. You live on the necropolis's edge, isolated from the bustling markets of Thebes. Your home, a simple mud brick hut shared with others who share your trade. Socially, you're a pariah. The priests who oversee the rituals look down on you, and villagers avoid you, fearing the taint of death. Yet your work is vital, preserving bodies for a culture that believes in eternal life, driving demand for resins and linens from Punt and Syria. You overhear mourners' whispered grief or nobles' demands for perfection, but speaking out risks offending the powerful. As you pack natron into a corpse, the silence broken only by the scrape of your tools, you wonder what hidden perils lie in the rituals you perform, and how long can you endure this dance with death. The sun beats down on the Theban necropolis, and the Wabbit's canvas flaps in the dry wind as you, the embalmer, continue your grim work. In 1000 BCE, the body before you, a mid-ranking official, lies half-processed, its cavity stuffed with natron. To dry the flesh, the air is thick with the pungent mix of resin and decay, and your hands, coated in myrrh, tremble from hours of delicate labor. Your role is sacred, ensuring the deceased's ka can navigate the afterlife, but it's also reviled. Your proximity to death, marking you as unclean in Egypt's rigid social order. Each step of the mummification process binds you deeper to a craft that both sustains and isolates you. Your tasks are precise and unyielding. After removing the organ's liver, lungs, stomach, and intestines, each stored in canopic jars, you wash the body with palm wine, its sharp scent a brief reprieve from the stench of rot. You pack the cavity with linen and resin, then cover the body in natron, checking its progress daily. The process, detailed by Herodotus, demands patience. A rushed job risks decay, offending the gods and the family. Your tools' bronze hooks, obsidian blades are prone to dulling, requiring constant sharpening, and a slip could ruin the body or invite punishment. The desert heat saps your strength, and the lack of ventilation in the Wabbit leaves you dizzy. Your lungs irritated by dust and fumes. The physical strain is matched by social isolation. Embalmers, as Diodorus Siculus describes, were skilled but shunned, living apart from society in necropolis enclaves. Your only companions are fellow embalmers, their faces as weary as yours, sharing stories of lost homes in Memphis or Nubia. You're forbidden from entering temples or mingling freely. Your impurity, a barrier even to other laborers. Yet your work drives Egypt's economy, fueling trade for myrrh from Punt and linen from the Delta. You overhear priests discussing offerings or nobles haggling over costs. But silence is your shield. Gossip could anger the powerful as temple. Records warn of embalmers flogged for disrespect. The mental toll grows heavier. The constant handling of death numbs you. But mistakes haunt you. A poorly preserved body could be seen as a curse, blamed on your negligence. You notice a faint discoloration on the official's skin, a sign the natron may not be drying evenly. Reporting it risks scrutiny from the overseer priest, but ignoring it could lead to a failed mummification. As you adjust the salt, the weight of your isolation presses in, and you wonder what consequences await if this body fails to meet the god standards, and how much longer can you bear this outcast life? Twilight settles over the Theban necropolis, and the Wabbit is quiet, save for the rustle of linen as you, the embalmer, complete the mummification of the official. In 1000 BCE, the body, now dried and wrapped in resin-soaked bandages, is nearly ready for its tomb. But your work has reached a critical moment. The climactic challenge comes when the overseer priest inspects your work and notices the discoloration. You feared a patch of uneven drying that could suggest decay. Accusations fly. The priest claims your negligence risks the official's afterlife, a grave offense in Egypt's death-obsessed culture. Your heart pounds this could mean flogging or banishment, explaining the discoloration as a natural variation in the flesh, not a flaw in your process. You point to the careful wrapping and the intact canopic jars, urging a second inspection. The priest, under pressure from the family, relents, and a senior embalmer confirms your skill, attributing the issue to the body's condition at death. The crisis passes, but the scare underscores your precarious existence. Herodotus describes embalmers as both essential and despised, their errors magnified by a society that equates mummification with divine favor. Your survival hinges on precision and deference, navigating a world where death is revered. But those who handle it are shunned. The resolution is one of endurance, not triumph. You continue your work, your body worn by years of labor-cracked skin from natron, aching joints from bending, and a persistent cough from resin fumes. Manumission is rare. As Diodorus Siculus notes, most embalmers toil until death, their skills tying them to the necropolis. Your craft preserves Egypt's elite for eternity, driving trade for resins and linens, yet you remain nameless. Freedom, if achieved, offers little. Former embalmers often beg, their stigma lingering, reflecting on your life. Risked in service to others, your resilience, forged in the Wabbit's grim solitude, mirrors theirs, a testament to human perseverance. As you seal the official sarcophagus, the final bandages in place, you wonder, did your careful hands truly secure a soul's eternity? Or were you merely a shadow in Egypt's endless quest for immortality? The vomit collector, banquet attendants. In Roman feast, picture yourself in a lavish Roman villa in 50 CE, standing in the shadows of a candlelit triclinium, where the elite recline on plush couches, their laughter mingling with the clink of silver goblets. You are a vomit collector, a slave tasked with attending to the excesses of Rome's decadent banquets, where gluttony is a mark of status. The air is thick with the aroma of roasted boar, spiced wine, and the sour tang of bile, a grim reminder of your role to the patricians indulging in their feast. You are invisible, a silent servant ensuring their revelry continues uninterrupted. For you, it's a life of revulsion, cleaning up the aftermath of their indulgence while navigating the whims of the powerful. Your night begins as the cena unfolds, guests arriving in togas dyed with costly Tyrian purple. You carry a bronze basin or leather bag, ready to catch the vomit of diners who overindulge, a practice encouraged in Rome's culture of excess, as described by Seneca. Purge the warm, acrid contents splashing against your hands. The task is degrading, the stench overwhelming, and you must move swiftly to avoid drawing attention or ire. Afterward, you wipe the floor with rags. Your arms ache from carrying heavy basins, your back strains from bending to clean spills, and the constant exposure to vomit leaves your hands chapped and raw. The diet scraps of bread or leftover lentils barely sustains you, and the wine you're occasionally offered is watered and sour. Historical accounts, like those of Petronius in the Satirican, disease is a risk. The unhygienic conditions breed infections, and you've seen colleagues fall ill from handling refuse in the humid triclinium. Socially, often as a captive from provinces like Thrace or Numidia, your work supports the opulence of Rome's feasts. or scandalous affairs, but speaking risks a whipping, as juvenile satires warn. As you hold a basin for a vomiting senator, the stench burning your nose, you wonder what deeper humiliations await in this world of excess, and how long can you stomach its demands. The banquet stretches into the late hours, the triclinium now, a haze of wine fumes and flickering torchlight in 50 CEU, the vomit collector. Move silently among the reclining guests, your bronze basin heavy with the night's excesses. The feast has reached its peak, with dishes of peacock tongues and flamingo livers piled high, and the guests, flushed with Falernian wine, indulge beyond reason. Your role is unrelenting, catching vomit, cleaning spills, and ensuring the opulence of Rome's elite remains untarnished. Each lurch of a guest's stomach demands your swift response, your presence a grim necessity in a culture that celebrates gluttony as a sign of power. Your tasks are ceaseless. When a matron gestures, you kneel beside her couch, holding the basin as she purges, her jeweled rings glinting as she grips your arm for balance. The contents half-digested dormice and wine splash into the basin, some spattering your tunic. You wipe her mouth with a damp cloth, then hurry to empty the basin in a corner latrine, the stench clinging to you. The floor, slick with spills, requires constant scrubbing, and you dodge slaves bearing platters or musicians playing lyres. Petronius Satyricon mocks the chaos of such feasts, where slaves like you are invisible unless they err. Your hands, raw from handling soiled rags, burn with every wipe, and the constant stooping leaves your back throbbing. The triclinium's heat, combined with the stench, makes your head spin, and the meager ration stale bread or a scrap of fish do little to ease your hunger. Disease is a constant threat. The banquet's refuse, as Pliny the Elder notes, spreads illness, and you've seen fellow slaves collapse, their bodies weakened by infection or exhaustion. Your health deteriorates, a persistent cough hinting at the toll of the fetid air. Socially, you're a ghost. Share whispered complaints, but trust is scarce. Some might betray you to the overseer for favor. You're privy to Rome's secrets, overheard plans for a senator's betrayal or a merchant's debt, but silence is your only defense. As juveniles, warnings of punished slaves echo in your mind. As you clean a spill, a guest's sudden heave catches you off guard, the vomit missing the basin and soaking your feet, and the triclinium's revelry wanes, leaving a mess of spilled wine and scattered bones in 50 CE. The climactic moment of your story comes when the host, a wealthy equestrian, notices the vomit-soaked spill from earlier and accuses you of negligence, his voice slurring as he demands punishment. Flogging and panic surges. You know the tear was caused by a guest's carelessness, not your failure. Your survival in this degrading role hinges on navigating this moment without drawing further wrath. You act quickly to clean the couch anew, and the overseer, swayed by your deference and the host's fading interest, relents, sparing you the whip. We're scapegoats for the elite's whims. Your survival depends on invisibility and precision, blending into the chaos of Rome's feasts while avoiding the overseer's lash or a guest's spite. The resolution is one of endurance, not escape. You continue your grim work, your body worn by years of laborious hands, aching back, and a worsening cough from the triclinium's fetid air. Manumission is a faint hope. Your labor upholds Rome's culture of excess, driving demand for exotic foods and lavish displays, yet you remain nameless. Reflecting on your life, you see parallels in modern times, service workers in restaurants or sanitation, your resilience forged in the triclinium's chaos, mirrors theirs, a testament to human grit amid indignity. As you scrub the final spill, the stench of vomit lingering, you wonder, did your silent service truly sustain Rome's opulence, or were you merely a fleeting shadow in its endless feast? The leech collector, gatherers for ancient healers, four ancient healers freighting through the murky, reed-choked waters of a marsh near Athens in 400 BCE, your legs sinking into the cold, slimy mud. You are a leech collector, tasked with gathering the blood-sucking creatures used by Greek healers to balance the body's humors. The air hums with mosquitoes, and the stench of stagnant water clings to your tattered chitin. To the physicians and their patients, your work is vital, providing the leeches that promise health through bloodletting. But for you, it's a grueling, dangerous task, your body a living bait for creatures that thrive on your blood. Your life defined by the mire and the scorn of those who rely on you. Your day begins at dawn, trudging to the marsh with a clay jar slung over your shoulder. You roll up your chitin and step into the water, the chill biting your skin as you move slowly, letting leeches latch onto your calves and thighs. Each one, small and wriggling, draws blood, their bites a sharp sting, followed by a dull ache. You pluck them carefully, dropping them into the jar. But the process is slow to rough a pull, and the leech tears, ruining it for medical use. Historical accounts, like those of Hippocrates, praise leeches for treating ailments from fevers to headaches, but they say little of the collectors, often slaves or impoverished freemen from rural Attica. The physical toll is brutal. Your legs, covered in bite marks, itch and bleed, the wounds prone to infection in the fetid water. Mosquitoes swarm, leaving welts that burn under the sun, and the constant stooping strains your back. Your diet, barley bread and occasional figs, barely sustains you, and the marsh water, your only drink, is brackish and foul. Pliny the Elder notes the dangers of marsh work, where disease festers, and you've seen collectors succumb to fevers or festering sores. The leeches themselves, if left too long, can weaken you, their bloodletting mimicking the cure they're meant to provide. Socially, you're an outcast. Villagers avoid you, their noses wrinkled at your mud-stained appearance and the faint iron smell of blood. Even healers, who depend on your haul, treat you with disdain, paying you in scraps or small coins. Your work fuels Greece's medical practices, supporting a trade in leeches that reaches cities like Corinth and Thebes, yet you're invisible in its glory. You overhear healers discussing treatments or gossiping about patients, but speaking out risks a beating, as temple records warn of punished laborers. As you pluck another leech, its bite sharp against your skin, you wonder what dangers lurk deeper in the marsh, and how long can you endure its relentless drain. The marsh grows quieter as the sun climbs, its surface rippling under a hot breeze. In 400 BCE, the leech collector stand waist-deep in stagnant water, your legs dotted with dark, wriggling leeches clinging to your skin. Your clay jar is half full, but the day's quota demands more, and you push deeper into the reeds, ignoring the squelch of mud and the buzz of insects. Your role is critical Greek. Healers rely on your leeches to treat everything from swollen limbs to melancholy. As Hippocrates' texts describe, but it's a thankless task, your body a canvas for bites, and your existence scorned by those who profit from your labor. Your work is methodical but perilous. You wade slowly, letting leeches attach, then peel them off with trembling fingers, careful not to crush their soft bodies. Each bite leaves a small oozing wound, and you've learned to ignore the itch, knowing scratching invites infection. The marsh is treacherous. Hidden roots snag your feet, and sudden drops can pull you under. Pliny the Elder warns of marshes breeding disease, and you've seen collectors drown or sicken from tainted water. Your jar, slick with slime, grows heavier, and carrying it while navigating the bog strains your arms and shoulders, already sore from hours of stooping. The physical toll deepens. Your skin, riddled with bites, is raw and inflamed, and the constant dampness leaves your feet blistered and soft. Your rations stale. Bread and a handful of olive zophyr, little energy, and the water you drink, drawn from the marsh's edge, tastes of decay. Collectors, often slaves or desperate freemen, are expendable, their deaths unrecorded, as Galen's later writings imply. You've seen comrades collapse, their bodies too weak to continue, left to rot in the reeds. Socially, you're isolated. Your fellow collectors, hailing from Attica's fringes or beyond, share grim nods, but little trust some might steal your leeches to meet their own quotas. Healers and merchants who sell your haul at markets dismiss you as filthy, their coin grudgingly given. Your work sustains Greece's medical economy, supplying leeches to temples and physicians across the Aegean. Yet you're a pariah, shunned for your stench and bloodied appearance. As you wade deeper, a leech latches too firmly, its bite unusually sharp, and you notice a strange murk in the water, a sign of rot or worse. Do you press on to meet your quota, or retreat, risking the overseer's wrath? Dusk settles over the marsh, the air cooling but no less heavy with the stench of decay. In 400 BC, you, the leech collector, stand exhausted, your jar nearly full, but your legs trembling from countless bites and hours in the mire. The climactic moment of your story comes when the overseer, a gruff merchant supplying healers, inspects your haul and claims it's short, accusing you of slacking. His threat of a beating war, worse, withholding your rations, looms. Though you know the murky water hid fewer leeches today, your survival hangs on proving your effort, a desperate bid to avoid punishment in a trade that chews up its workers. You argue carefully, showing the bite marks riddling your legs and pointing to the marsh's unusual cloudiness. You offer to return at dawn to make up the shortfall, and the overseer, swayed by your visible exhaustion and the jar's near full state, relents, grumbling. The moment passes, but it underscores your precarious life. Hippocrates' writings praise leeches but ignore the collectors, whose failures are punished harshly, as temple records show. Your survival depends on endurance and cunning, navigating a world that values your haul but not your life. The resolution is one of grim persistence. You continue wading, your body scarred by bites and weakened by fever, your lungs strained by the marsh's damp air. Freedom is a faint hope. As Pliny the Elder suggests, most collectors toil until disease or exhaustion claims them, their deaths unnoticed. Your leeches heal Athens' elite, supporting a medical trade that spans the Mediterranean. Yet you remain nameless, unlike the physicians lauded in inscriptions. If freed, you'd likely beg, your skills useless outside the marsh. Your labor, though vital, is a silent cog in Greece's healing machine. Reflecting on your life, you see echoes in modern times. Workers in hazardous job sanitation, agriculture whose health is risked for society's gain, their contributions overlooked. Your resilience, forged in the marsh's relentless grip, mirrors theirs, a testament to human endurance. As you seal your jar, the last leech plucked, you wonder, did your bloodied efforts truly heal a civilization? Or were you just a fleeting ripple in its endless pursuit of health? The dung collector, manure gatherers in ancient Mesopotamia picture yourself in the bustling city of your Mesopotamia, around 2000 BCE, trudging through dusty streets with a wooden cart piled high with animal dung. You are a dung collector, tasked with gathering manure from stables, markets, and households to fuel the kilns, fertilize fields, and support the city's economy. The air is thick with the sharp stench of excrement, mingling with the smoke of ovens and the chatter of merchants. To the priests and scribes who govern your work is essential, sustaining agriculture and industry. But for you, it's a grueling, degrading labor. Your body coated in filth, and your status lower than the clay you tread. Your day begins before dawn, as you push your creaking cart through the city's alleys, collecting dung from donkey pens and cattle stalls. You shovel the reeking piles with a wooden spade, the dry manure crumbling into dust that stings your eyes, while fresher heaps cling wetly to your hands. The work is backbreaking. Each load, heavy with waste, strains your shoulders as you haul it to the drying yards outside the city walls, cuneiform records, like those from the 3rd dynasty of your mention. Dung as a vital resource for fertilizing barley fields. But they rarely note the laborers, often slaves or indebted freemen from Sumer's fringes. The physical toll is relentless. Your hands blister from the spade's rough handle, and the constant stooping leaves your back aching. The dust and stench irritate your lungs, sparking a persistent cough, and the sun's heat bakes your skin. Already raw from handling manure, your diet coarse, barley, porridge, and occasional dates barely sustains you, and water, drawn from muddy canals, tastes of the earth. Disease spreads easily. You've seen collectors sicken from infections, carried in the filth, their deaths unremarked, as administrative tablets suggest. The work exposes you to parasites, and open sores on your feet fester in the grime. Socially, you're despised. Citizens wrinkle their noses as you pass, and even other laborers mock your shit-shoveling trade. Your work supports yours. Prosperity, fertilizing crops that feed the city and fuel for kilns that bake bricks. Yet you're an outcast, living in a slum near the city's edge. You overhear traders haggling or priests discussing temple offerings. But speaking risks a beating, as overseers enforce silence among low-born workers. As you shovel another load, the stench overwhelming, you wonder what hidden dangers lurk in the filth you handle, and how long can you endure this life of scorn? The sun climbs over your, and the streets pulse with activity as you, the dung collector, navigate the crowded markets in 2000 BCE, Your cart groans under the weight of manure, its stench drawing curses from passers-by. Your task is to gather enough dung to meet the overseer's quota, delivering it to the drying yards where it's processed for fertilizer or fuel. The work is vital Mesopotamian agriculture, as cuneiform records from yours archives note, relies on manure to enrich the soil for barley and dates, but it's a thankless task. Your body a vessel for filth and your existence shunned by the city you sustain. Your labor is unending. You shovel dung from the pens of merchants, donkeys, the piles mixed with straw and urine, then haul it through narrow alleys to avoid the temple district's priests. The cart's wheels stick in the mud, forcing you to push harder, your muscles burning at the drying yards. You spread the manure to bake under the sun, a task that coats your hands and feet in grime. The overseer, a scribe with a clay tablet, tracks your output, his whip ready for those who fall short. Texts from the period, like those of the Ur III dynasty, detail the economy's reliance on dung, but ignore the collectors, often slaves from Elam or the Zagros Mountains. The physical strain deepens. Your skin, caked with dust and manure, cracks and itches, inviting infections that fester in the heat. The stench clogs your throat, and breathing the dust leaves your chest tight, a sign of the lung ailments that claim many collectors as later. Greek sources like Galen imply about similar trades. Your rations barley gruel and occasional onions provide little strength, and the canal water you drink is gritty, worsening your thirst. You've seen colleagues collapse, their bodies discarded outside the city, their labor replaced without pause. Socially, you're isolated. Your fellow collectors, hailing from distant regions, share muttered complaints in broken Sumerian, but trust is scarce-some might steal your load to meet their own quotas. Merchants and scribes dismiss you, their payments meager, often just enough to avoid starvation. Your work fuels yours fields and kilns, supporting trade with Dilmun and Megan. Yet you're a pariah, your stench a barrier to all but the lowliest. As you spread a load in the yard, you notice a foul, unusual odor in the dung, a sign of disease or rot. Do you report it, risking blame, or continue silently, hoping to avoid the overseer's wrath? Night falls over and the drying yards outside. The city walls are silent, save for the rustle of drying manure in the breeze of 2000 BCU. The dung collector are weary, your body aching from hauling cartloads of filth all day. The climactic moment comes when the overseer, tallying your output on his clay tablet, claims your pile is short, accusing you of theft or laziness. His threat of a beating or worse, banishment to a labor camp looms, though you suspect that foul-smelling dung you noticed earlier was discarded by another collector to sabotage you. Your survival depends on proving your diligence in a trade that offers no mercy. You plead your case, pointing to the bite marks on your hands from shoveling and the full cart you delivered, suggesting the tainted dung was the work of a rival. You offer to gather extra at dawn, and the overseer, pressed by time, grudgingly accepts, sparing you punishment. The incident highlights your vulnerability. Cuneiform records from your note strict oversight of laborers, with harsh penalties for shortfalls. Your survival hinges on endurance and caution, navigating a world where the filth you handle is both your livelihood and your curse. The resolution is one of grim persistence. You continue collecting, your body scarred by infections and weakened by lung ailments from dust and fumes. Freedom is a distant dream. As administrative tablets imply, most collectors toil until they break, their deaths unrecorded. Your work sustains yours, fields, and kilns, driving the economy that feeds temples and trade. Yet you remain nameless, unlike the kings lauded in inscriptions. If freed, you'd likely beg, your skills useless outside the yards. Your labor, though vital, is a forgotten cog in Mesopotamia's machine. Reflecting on your life, you see parallels in modern times: sanitation workers or laborers in toxic industries, their health risked for society's benefit, their efforts unseen. Your resilience, forged in the stench of your streets, mirrors theirs, a testament to human grit. As you shovel one last load, the manures weight heavy on your spade. You wonder, did your endless toil truly nourish a civilization, or were you just a fleeting shadow in its fertile fields? The taster, food testers for ancient royalty imagined yourself in the opulent palace of Persepolis, Persia, around 500 BCE, standing in the shadow of towering columns adorned with gold. You are a food taster, a servant tasked with sampling the king's meals to ensure they are free of poison, a constant threat in the Achaemenid court where intrigue festers among nobles. The air is rich with the aroma of saffron-spiced lamb and fresh-baked bread, but beneath the splendor lies dread, as each bite you take could be your last. To the king and his courtiers, your role is vital, safeguarding the ruler of a vast empire. But for you, it's a perilous existence, your life a gamble to preserve another's. Your day begins in the royal kitchens, where cooks prepare lavish dishes under the watchful eyes of guards. You stand ready, a clay plate before you, as a steward presents small portions from the king's meal-roasted meat, honeyed figs, or barley stew. You taste each carefully, chewing slowly, your senses alert for the bitter tang of poison, like the arsenic or hemlock whispered about in court gossip. The act is quick but nerve-wracking. A single misjudgment could mean death, either from poison or the king's wrath if you fail to detect it. Herodotus accounts hint at tasters in Persian courts, their lives expendable to protect the throne. The physical toll is subtle but constant. Your stomach churns from sampling rich, heavy foods, often in excess of your meager slave's diet of bread and lentils. The fear of poison keeps you tense, your body primed for signs, dizziness, nausea, or a burning throat that might come too late. Poisonings, as Xenophon's writings suggest, were a real threat in royal courts, and tasters bore the brunt. Your health suffers from stress and irregular meals, and the constant vigilance leaves you exhausted. Your sleep plagued by dread of the next dish. Socially, you're a paradox, trusted yet despised. Courtiers view you with suspicion, fearing you might overhear their schemes, while slaves envy your proximity to power, but not your risk. Often a captive from a conquered land like Lydia or Egypt, your life means little to the court. Your role ensures the king's safety, supporting the stability of an empire stretching from India to Greece. Yet you're invisible, your name unrecorded in the annals. As you swallow a bite of spiced meat, its richness masking any danger, you wonder what unseen threats lurk in the next dish, and how long can you survive this deadly game? The banquet hall in Persepolis glitters with torchlight, the air thick with the scent of incense and roasted game as you, the food taster, stand poised near the king's table in 500 BCE. The court buzzes with nobles, their silken robes rustling as they toast the king's victories. But your focus is on the clay plate before you, laden with samples from his feast, pomegranate glazed quail, barley cakes, and mulled wine. Your task is to taste each before it reaches the king, ensuring no poison taints his meal, a duty that places you at the heart of the Achaemenid court's paranoia. Every bite is a roll of the dice, your life a shield for the empire's ruler. Your work demands precision. You take small bites, letting the flavors linger, your tongue searching for the acrid or metallic notes of poison, perhaps strychnine or belladonna, as whispered in the servants' quarters. You sip the wine cautiously, aware that a single drop could be laced with death. The process is swift to avoid delaying the king's meal, but the pressure is crushing. A missed poison could doom the king and earn you execution, as Xenophon's accounts of Persian court intrigues suggest. The overseer, a stern eunuch, watches closely, ready to punish hesitation with a whip or banishment. The physical strain grows heavier. The rich foods meant for royalty sit poorly in your stomach, accustomed to meager rations of gruel and dates. The constant fear of poison spikes your pulse, leaving your hands trembling and your head throbbing. You've heard of tasters collapsing, their deaths blamed on natural causes to avoid alarming the court, as Herodotus implies in his tales of royal distrust. Your health frays indigestion, fatigue, and a creeping anxiety that worsens with every meal. The risk of slow-acting poisons, undetectable in the moment, haunts you, their effects building over time. Socially, you're isolated. Nobles avoid you, fearing you might report their whispers of rebellion, while fellow slaves resent your role, seeing it as a cursed privilege. You're privy to the court's secrets, plots against the king, or rivalries among satraps, but silence is your only defense. Speaking out, as cuneiform records warn, risks torture. Your work safeguards the empire's stability, ensuring the king's survival to rule from Susa to Sardis. Yet you're a ghost, valued only for your sacrifice. As you taste a sip of wine, its sweetness masking any danger, you notice a faint bitterness. Is it a trace of poison, or just the fruit's tang? And what will it cost to speak or stay silent? Moonlight filters through the palace windows, and the banquet's clamor fades as you, the food taster, stand weary in Persepolis. 500 BCE. Your plate, now cleared of the king's samples, leaves your stomach uneasy, the faint bitterness of the wine lingering on your tongue. The climactic moment comes when you feel a sudden dizziness, your vision blurring as the overseer demands you confirm the meal's safety. The court's eyes turn to you, and panic grips you. Did you miss a poison? Or is it merely exhaustion? Accusing the kitchen risks condemning innocent cooks, but silence could doom the king and yourself. A dilemma that defines your perilous role. You steady yourself, overseer, allowing the feast to proceed. The moment passes, the king unharmed. But the scare underscores your fragility. Herodotus tales of Persian courts note tasters as disposable, their deaths a minor footnote in royal intrigue. You survive by instinct and caution, knowing a false alarm could brand you unreliable, while a missed poison means death. You continue tasting, your body weakened by stress, poor diet, and the cumulative toll of rich foods and potential toxins. Freedom is a faint hope. As Xenophon suggests, most tasters serve until they falter. Replaced without ceremony, your work preserves the king, stabilizing an empire that spans continents. Yet you remain nameless, unlike the satraps etched in royal inscriptions. Your labor, though critical, is a silent thread in Persia's tapestry, reflecting on your life. You see parallels in modern times, workers in high-risk roles security, a testament to human tenacity. As you prepare for the next banquet, the taste of wine still bitter in your mouth, you wonder, did your countless samples truly shield an empire, or were you merely a fleeting breath in its endless intrigue? The sewer cleaner, maintainers of Rome's Cloaca Maxima, picture yourself crawling through the dank, fetid tunnels of the Cloaca Maxima, Rome's sprawling sewer system. In 100 CE, you are a sewer cleaner, a slave tasked with keeping the city's arteries of waste flowing to prevent flooding and disease. The air is thick with the stench of human excrement, rotting refuse, and stagnant water, the dim flicker of your oil lamp barely piercing the darkness. To Rome's citizens, your work is essential, ensuring the city's streets remain habitable. But for you, it's a suffocating existence. Your body submerged in filth and your life at the mercy of the city's underbelly. Your day begins at dusk, when the city's bustle quiets and you descend into the sewer's entrance with a wooden scraper and a basket for debris. The tunnels, built of stone and described by Pliny the Elder as marvels of engineering, are slick with slime, forcing you to move cautiously to avoid slipping into the foul current. You scrape encrusted waste from the walls, clearing blockages of excrement, animal carcasses, and discarded garbage. The work is backbreaking, requiring you to crouch or crawl through low passages, the cold water soaking your tunic and chilling your bones. The physical toll is brutal. Your hands blister from gripping the scraper, and the constant dampness leaves your skin raw, prone to infections that fester in the sewer's miasma. The air, heavy with toxic fumes, burns your lungs, sparking a cough that worsens daily. Your diastale bread and watery porridge barely sustains you, and the only water available is the tainted flow you wade through. Livy's histories note the cloaca's role in Rome's health, but they ignore the cleaners, often slaves from conquered provinces like Gaul or Syria, whose lives were expendable. Socially, you're an outcast. Even other slaves shun you, repelled by the stench that clings to your skin. Your work keeps Rome's streets clean, supporting the city's growth and its aqueduct-fed baths. You overhear guards gossiping about chariot races or political schemes, but speaking risks a whipping, as juveniles' satires warn of punished laborers. As you clear a blockage, the rancid water splashing your face, you wonder what unseen dangers lurk deeper in the sewer's depths, and how long can you survive its relentless filth. The Cloaca Maxima's tunnels grow darker as you, the sewer cleaner, venture deeper beneath Rome. In 100 CE, the slosh of wastewater echoing off the stone walls. Your oil lamp flickers, casting shadows on the slimy surfaces as you scrape away, a mass of refuse clogging the flow. Your task is to keep the sewer clear, preventing backups that could flood Rome's streets or spread disease. The stench, excrement, decay, and mold chokes you, and every step risks a slip into the fetid stream. To the citizens above, Your labor is a silent necessity, but to you, it's a descent into a reeking underworld that threatens body and soul. Your work is relentless. You shovel debroating food, broken pottery, even dead rats into your basket, hauling it to a surface chute for disposal. The tunnels vary, some so low you crawl on hands and knees, your joints aching from the strain. Toxic fumes, noted by Pliny the Elder as a hazard of Rome's sewers. The overseer, a freedman stationed at the tunnel's mouth, shouts orders, his whip cracking. If you slow, historical records, like those of Frontinus, praise the cloaca's engineering, but ignore the cleaners, often slaves or condemned criminals whose lives were sacrificed to its maintenance. The physical strain mounts. Your skin, soaked in wastewater, develops sores that burn with every splash, and the cold seeps into your bones, leaving you shivering. The fumes irritate your eyes and throat, and a persistent cough hints at lung damage, a fate common among cleaners, as later medical texts suggest. Your rations, barley, gruel, and occasional scraps offer little strength, and the sewer's water, your only drink, risks disease. You're a ghost. Your work ensures Rome's sanitation, supporting its baths and markets, yet you're despised. Your existence tied to the city's waste, gossiping slaves, as juvenile notes face flogging. As you clear a stubborn blockage, a sudden rush of water nearly sweeps you away, and you notice an odd, acrid smell in the flow. Is it a sign of poison or decay? And do you risk reporting it, inviting blame, or press on in silence? Night deepens over Rome, and the Cloaca Maxima's tunnels grow colder, the damp stone chilling you to the core. In 100 CE, the sewer cleaner are exhausted, your hands raw from scraping refuse, and your lungs burning from fumes. The climactic moment comes when the overseer, inspecting your cleared section, spots a lingering blockage and accuses you of negligence, his whip raised. The acrid smell you noticed earlier suggests a toxic spill, perhaps from a tannery or alchemists' waste, but blaming it risks implicating powerful guilds. Your survival hangs on deflecting punishment in a role where failure is met with brutality. You argue cautiously, and the overseer, wary of delaying the sewer's flow, grudgingly agrees, sparing you a beating. The incident underscores your precarious life. Livy's accounts praise Rome's sewers but ignore cleaners, whose errors were harshly punished. As inscriptions note, your survival depends on endurance and caution, navigating a system that values the city's health over your own. The resolution is one of relentless toil. You continue cleaning, your body ravaged by infections, aching joints, and a worsening cough from toxic air. Freedom is a faint hope. As Juvenal suggests, most sewer cleaners labor until they break, replaced without record. Your work keeps Rome livable, supporting its aqueducts and public baths. Yet you remain nameless, unlike the engineers lauded in Frontinus texts. If freed, you'd likely beg, your skills useless outside the tunnels. Your labor, though vital, is a forgotten thread in Rome's grandeur, reflecting on your life. You see parallels in modern times. Sanitation workers, or those in hazardous waste management, their health risked for public good, their efforts unseen, your resilience forged in the cloaca's fetid depths mirrors theirs, a testament to human perseverance. As you scrape one last mass of refuse, the stench overwhelming, you wonder, Did your endless labor truly sustain Rome's glory, or were you just a shadow in its filthy underbelly? The corpse carrier, body transporters in ancient Indio. Picture yourself in the sweltering streets of Pataliputra, the capital of the Mauryan Empire, around 300 BCE, carrying a shrouded corpse on a bamboo litter through crowded alleys. You are a corpse carrier, a member of the lowest caste tasked with transporting the dead to cremation grounds along the Ganges. The air is heavy with the stench of decay and the smoke of distant pyres, mingling with the chatter of merchants and priests. To the city's elite, your work is necessary to maintain ritual purity, ensuring the dead are properly sent to their next life. But for you, it's a grueling, stigmatized labor, your touch deemed polluting, and your existence shunned. Your day begins at dawn, summoned to a household where death has struck a merchant, perhaps, or a child taken by fever. You wrap the body in coarse cloth, securing it to the litter, your hands brushing against cold flesh as you work quickly to avoid the family's grief-stricken glares. The journey to the cremation ground is arduous, the litter's weight straining your shoulders as you navigate uneven streets, dodging carts and stray dogs. The Artha Shastra, a Mauryan text, notes the importance of proper death rites, but says little of carriers, often untouchables or slaves from marginalized tribes whose lives were expendable. The physical toll is relentless. Your back aches from carrying heavy loads, and your hands, rough from handling coarse shrouds, blister easily. The tropical heat worsens the stench, and prolonged exposure to decaying bodies risks infection. As ancient medical texts like the Charaka Samhita imply about disease from corpses, your diet leftover rice and lentils, scavenged from alms barely sustains you. And water, drawn from the Ganges, is murky and suspect. You've seen carriers succumb to fevers or exhaustion, their bodies left unceremonied, their deaths unnoticed socially. You're an outcast among outcasts. Even other low-caste workers avoid you, fearing the ritual impurity tied to your trade, as prescribed by Vedic laws. Your work ensures the spiritual order, allowing souls to transition through cremation. Yet, you're reviled, living in a slum outside the city walls. You overhear priests chanting mantras or mourners' laments, but speaking risks scorn or violence, as the Manusmriti warns of punishments for untouchables who overstep. As you carry a body toward the pyres, the stench overwhelming, you wonder, what dangers lurk in the next corpse? And how long can you bear this life of exile? The sun climbs higher over Pataliputra, and the streets grow stifling as you, the corpse carrier, shoulder another bamboo litter. In 300 BCE, the body, a frail elder wrapped in linen, sways with each step, its weight pressing into your aching muscles. Your task is to deliver the dead to the cremation grounds by the Ganges, ensuring the soul's release through proper rites, a duty vital to Mauryan society's spiritual order. The air is thick with dust, sweat, and the faint rot of the corpse, a constant reminder of your reviled role. To the priests and nobles, your labor upholds tradition, but to you, it's a crushing burden. Your life defined by death and disdain. Your work is unending. You navigate the city's maze, avoiding temple precincts where your presence would offend, as the Manusmriti dictates strict boundaries for untouchables. At the cremation ground, you lay the body on a pyre, assisting the family's priest with Wood placement, your hands stained by ash and decay. The journey back requires fetching another corpse, sometimes miles away, with no rest between. The Arthashastra mentions the regulation of death rites but ignores carriers, often slaves or outcasts from tribal regions, whose labor was critical yet unacknowledged. The overseer, a low-ranking official, tracks your deliveries, his staff ready to strike if you falter. The physical strain deepens. Your shoulders burn from the litter's weight, and your feet, bare against the rocky paths, are cut and blistered. The stench of decay clings to you, and handling corpses exposes you to disease, skin infections, or fevers. As the Charaka Samhita warns about contact with the dead, your ration scraps of millet or spoiled fruit are insufficient, and the Ganges water you drink risks illness. You've seen fellow carriers collapse, their bodies burned without ceremony, their lives as disposable as the corpses they carry. Socially, you're isolated. Other carriers, from distant villages or conquered lands, share grim silence, but trust is scarce. Some might sabotage you to curry favor with the overseer. Priests and mourners shun you, their rituals barring your touch, and even beggars scorn your impurity. Your work supports the spiritual economy, ensuring proper cremations that sustain Vedic traditions. Yet you're a pariah, your existence a stain. As you lift another corpse, you notice an unusual weight and a foul odor beneath the shroud, hinting at disease. Do you report it, risking blame, or carry on, hoping to avoid punishment? Twilight casts long shadows over the Ganges, where the cremation pyre's smoke curls into the sky in 300 BCE. The corpse carrier are weary, your body aching from hauling litters through Padalapatra streets. The climactic moment comes when the overseer, inspecting your latest delivery, notices the foul-smelling corpse and accuses you of mishandling it, claiming the stench suggests neglect that could anger the family or gods. His threat of a beating, worse, expulsion from the city looms, though you suspect the body was diseased before you received it. Your survival hinges on navigating this accusation in a role where impurity is both your duty and your curse. You plead cautiously, explaining the corpse's condition was evident upon collection, pointing to the tightly wrapped shroud as proof of your care. You offer to assist with an expedited cremation to appease the family, and the overseer, wary of delaying rites, relents, sparing you punishment. The incident underscores your vulnerability. The Arthashastra notes strict oversight of death workers, with penalties for errors, yet ignores their plight. Your survival depends on deference and endurance, carrying the dead in a society that shuns you for it. The resolution is one of relentless toil. You continue your labor, your body scarred by blisters, infections, and a worsening cough from smoke and decay. Freedom is a faint hope. As the Manusmriti suggests, most carriers remain bound to their caste, their deaths unremarked. Your work upholds the spiritual order, ensuring souls reach the afterlife. Yet you remain nameless, unlike the priests lauded in Vedic hymns. If freed, you'd likely beg your skills useless outside the cremation grounds. Your labor, though essential, is a silent thread in India's ritual tapestry, reflecting on your life. You see parallels in modern times. Sanitation workers or undertakers in marginalized roles, their health risked for society's needs, their efforts unseen. Your resilience forged in the weight of the dead, mirrors theirs, a testament to human grit. As you shoulder one last litter, the pyre's heat on your face, you wonder, did your endless journeys truly honor the souls you carried? Or were you merely a shadow in Pataliputra's cycle of death? The bone picker, scavengers of ancient battlefields, picture yourself trudging across a blood-soaked battlefield near Thermopylae, Greece, in 480 BCE, the air heavy with the stench of death and the buzz of flies. You are a bone picker, a scavenger tasked with collecting the remains of fallen warriors for burial or to clear the field for future use. The ground is littered with broken spears, shattered shields, and decomposing bodies, their armor glinting dully under the sun. To the generals and priests, your work is necessary to honor the dead and reclaim the land. But for you, it's a gruesome, soul-crushing labor, your hands stained with decay and your existence shunned by the living. Your day begins at dawn, joining a group of scavengers, often slaves or impoverished freemen from nearby villagers, armed with sacks and crude tools. You sift through the carnage, prying bones from rotting flesh, careful to avoid disrespecting the dead, which could anger the gods, as Herodotus' accounts of Greek burial rites suggest. The task is grim. You stack skulls and limbs in your sack, the weight growing with each find, while vultures circle overhead. The sun beats down, worsening the stench, and you work quickly to avoid looters or wild dogs claiming the remains before you. The physical toll is harrowing. Your hands blister from handling rough bones, and the constant bending strains your back, leaving it aching. The stench and sight of decay churn your stomach, and exposure to rotting flesh risks disease, as later medical texts, like those of Hippocrates, warn of infections from corpses. Your diet, scraps of barley bread and wild herbs, barely sustains you, and water, drawn from nearby streams, is often fouled by blood. You've seen pickers collapse from exhaustion or fever, their bodies left among the dead, unrecorded socially. You're a pariah. Soldiers and villagers avoid you, fearing the spiritual pollution of your trade, as Greek customs deemed contact with death impure. Your work ensures proper rites or clears fields for future battles, supporting the city-state's military machine. Yet you're despised, living in makeshift camps far from towns. You overhear tales of heroic Spartans or Persian invaders, but speaking risks a beating, as temple records warn of punished scavengers. And how long can you endure this grim harvest? The midday sun scorches the battlefield near Thermopylae, and the air grows thicker with the reek of decay as you, the bone picker, continue your grim task. In 480 BCE, your sack is heavy with bones, each one pried from rotting flesh or tangled armor, a silent testament to the clash of Greeks and Persians. Your role is to collect remains for burial or to clear the field, a necessity for honoring the dead and preparing for future wars, as Herodotus notes in his accounts of post-battle rites. But to you, it's a relentless ordeal, your body battered by the labor and your spirit worn by the endless parade of death. Your work is meticulous yet brutal. You kneel among the corpses, using a knife to cut away dried flesh, careful not to defile remains that priests might bless. Skulls, femurs, and ribs go into your sack, while unusable fragments are left for scavengers. The terrain is treacherous, jagged rocks and broken weapons threaten cuts, and the weight of your load strains your shoulders. The Iliad's descriptions of battlefield cleanup hint at your role, but they glorify warriors, not the scavengers, often slaves from Thrace or Scythia, who face the aftermath. The overseer, a grizzled veteran, barks orders, his staff ready to strike if you slow. The physical toll intensifies. Your hands, raw from handling bones and sharp metal, bleed easily, and the constant crouching leaves your knees throbbing. The stench clogs your throat, and flies swarm your face, risking infection as they land on open cuts. Your rations, stale bread and sour wine, offer little strength, and the stream water, tainted with blood, sickens you. Hippocrates' writings warn of diseases from decaying flesh, and you've seen pickers fall to fevers or festering wounds. Their bodies abandoned, like the warriors they collect. Socially, you're isolated. Your fellow pickers from distant lands share grim glances, but little trust. Some might steal bones to meet quotas. Survivors of the battle, if they pass, curse you as a defiler, despite your role in their rituals. Your work supports Greece's military and religious order, ensuring fields are cleared and souls honored, yet you're shunned, your camp a cluster of tattered tents. As you stack another set of bones, you notice a foul oozing wound on a corpse, a sign of plague or poison. Do you report it, risking blame for spreading fear, or continue in silence, hoping to avoid punishment? Dusk settles over the battlefield, the air cooling but still heavy with the stench of death. In 480 BCEU, the bone picker are exhausted, your sack brimming with bones, your body aching from hours of sifting through the carnage. The climactic moment comes when the overseer, inspecting your haul, accuses you of slacking, claiming you've missed a section littered with remains. His threat of a beating or worse, abandonment on the field looms, though you suspect the foul-smelling corpse you found, possibly plague-ridden, was avoided by others to sabotage you. Your survival hinges on proving your diligence in a trade where the dead are both your burden and your shield. You argue cautiously, showing your bloodied hands and the heavy sack, suggesting the tainted corpse was left by another picker to avoid contamination. You offer to clear the section at first light, and the overseer, pressed to finish before scavengers arrive, relents, sparing you punishment. Praise rights, but ignore pickers, whose errors faced harsh penalties, as temple records show. Your survival depends on endurance and cunning, navigating a world that reviles you for handling its dead. The resolution is one of grim persistence. You continue scavenging, your body scarred by cuts, infections, and a worsening cough from the battlefield's dust and decay. Freedom is a faint hope, as Thucydides implies. Most pickers toil until they break, their deaths unnoted. Your work honors the fallen and clears fields for Greece's wars, yet you remain nameless, unlike the heroes, etched in stone. If freed, you'd likely beg your skills useless off the battlefield. Your labor, though vital, is a silent cog in the city-state's machine, reflecting on your life. You see parallels in modern times, workers in disaster cleanup or war zone. Recovery, their health risked for society's needs, their efforts unseen. Your resilience, forged in the battlefield's horrors, mirrors theirs, a testament to human grit. As you stack one last bone, the weight of death heavy in your hands, you wonder, Did your grim harvest truly honor the fallen, or were you merely a shadow in Greece's endless cycle of war?